college, and I think that's the same for several people at this table.
Yeah, and something that probably needs to be tackled is the fact that, I mean, talking about Megan, a specific situation, Mrs. Smith is that counselor. She serves a very small population of the school.
Yeah,
Megan and I,
that's also a really good point
yeah,
that
we're in a
we're-
magnet program, so that means
Yeah.
that, she focuses specifically on about 300, 400 kids, but to further that point, she's the mother of one of the classmates of ours, so that
Oh,
also
yeah.
makes her like inherently closer to us than many other counselors would be. If you think of it, like if I'm just recalling some of the other Dunbar students' experiences with their counselors, it's a lot of the same that you guys are talking about. Some of them don't know who their counselors are. Some of them see them as only ways to change their schedule, and
Yeah.
that kind of meaningful interaction that I'm asking about probably isn't present there in Dunbar as it is in Knox County. And I bet, a lot of the other students from around the district can speak to that as well.
I think me and Molly have had the complete opposite experience because we have the privilege of having our counselors be any of the administration at Gatton. So we have six counselors for 120 students, 126 students. So my counselor is, one of my best friends and would spend hours a week with him writing my recommendations and would text me and be like, hey, are you gonna submit that application or not? Like, can you get it done? That was one of the biggest things. And thinking back at my old school, I was more in a similar situation as you all where I wouldn't, I love my old counselor to death, but she's just so bogged down with work that it would have never happened. And how do you all feel that affects, whether or not people go to college? Because there's no one there to really stay on them about their applications and encourage you all to really take the extra step and apply for scholarships and stuff like that.
I have a friend who tried to apply to MIT and they graduated from here last year and he couldn't get in because he couldn't schedule the interview because nobody was there helping him other than his mom. So
I think that really cultivates the lack of motivation. I think that would be a large cause in why kids don't go to college because they're not exposed to it. They're not people pushing them in the schools.
So with me, from what I've heard you guys talk and say how your schools are in similar situations with the counselors, I feel it's probably for not necessarily a lack of the counselors being able to do everything, but just that there's so many students
Yeah.
for just so few counselors. It's not something that could actually get done. That it's almost people should be told coming in that you have a counselor, but being honest, this counselor has to deal with a lot. There's going to be things you have to do on your own, and that's not really told. You expect this is my counselor. I should be able to come to this person, but it
So
doesn't end up being that way.
this brings up an interesting point as a whole. This post-secondary education discussion. Aiden's dad is an economist at UK that has a lot of knowledge specifically about Eastern Kentucky. And when before coming to Knox County, we talked to him to learn a little bit about the county and the culture that you guys are talking about. And a statement that he made that really stuck with us was there's a substantial mismatch between the knowledge of how you finance college and the eligibility for assistance. And this is a real problem because a lot of these kids who can afford to go to college don't know that they can. So do you think that the lack of knowledge on the part of your, access to post-secondary education, the process of getting there, applying, do you think that's a real issue as far as how you...
Really quickly, just to simplify that question a bit more, if I told you that everyone who goes to Harvard, whose parents make under $100,000 a year, goes for free, would that make more people apply for Harvard?
yeah. I'll be honest, I'm growing up in a pretty poor family, and my dad's like, oh, you need to go to the same school your brothers did, which is Berea, which is generally noted as, oh, hey, go to poor kids' school. And so generally that's what's expected of me rather than going to, say, UK or MIT or somewhere else.
So were any of you guys aware of the fact of how your parents' income could affect how much you'd pay to go to college?
Yeah, I had done a lot of my own research based on, and then being at Gatton, I learned a lot through that. But I knew that if your family's income is less than a certain amount,
Mhm.
then you can go Yale completely
Yeah.
free. Or that if you have like certain family members and stuff, you can go for a lot less than.
Do you think that you're
tuition.
more of an anomaly for your outside knowledge of
Yeah.
colleges than the rest of the population maybe?
Yeah.
So can any of you other students speak about that?
Personally, I know about financial aid. They do touch upon the subject here. They don't really go into that much detail. But I didn't really know of anything as, radical as if you make under this much, you get in for free.
Mhm.
And I think that would help more students to try and go to college, because I've heard a lot of people say that they're not going to college because they can't afford it. But with your question specifically for Harvard, I'm not sure if that would really, for Harvard specifically, that wouldn't really make more
Sure.
people apply to it, because it wouldn't do too much motivation in actual study work and even in actual, classwork, and even the people who are top tier here at Knox Central can still have, more of a feeling of staying closer to home.
So if,
Like,
say, Andrew had changed that statement to make it fit UK or U of L or an in-state school specifically, which is still probably the case.
Less so the case, but still the case. There's still a lot of money for need-based aid that I think lots of students maybe don't know about or don't apply for.
I think there's 61 right now on the list that's called meets financial need. So what that means is just, back to your point, anywhere that if you qualify for financial aid or meet a certain threshold, then there are 61 on the list that meet 100% of your need.
And beyond
61
that too, there's
schools.
also a lot of schools that have merit-based scholarships where you can apply not based on your income, but based on just what you've done in school, in high school. Do you guys know about those kinds of schools? I know Vanderbilt is one of them, has a lot of merit-based scholarships that they offer.
And then it's also 100% need met, so
Right.
that,
You just have no idea that even was the case.
Something about it,
I guess
that's
for
the
this-
case with many colleges, it really is, not everyone is gonna be the 100% need-based. Yeah, there are plenty of kids that go there that either on full ride for merit-based things or just for financial aid. I'm sure you guys hopefully know about Keys Money.
Yeah.
I guess for the sake of comparison, we should have a few students speak on their own knowledge from Fayette County or abroad. That
I personally know a lot of kids that have gone to not only UK, but U of L, and a couple kids that went to Vanderbilt that were very, very low income that got an absolute full ride because they were so low income. And it's just, I want people to know, and I guess the whole student voice team, that it's not only merit-based kids that get scholarships, but income definitely plays a factor in getting money.
And then as far as a perspective on merit-based scholarships, I probably applied to 30 or 40 schools and scholarships when I was applying to college, and that had very little to do with any kind of special, super high intelligence, but more to do with just knowing that they were out there. I had this personal person that was telling me all these things that I should be applying for, so I definitely had that advantage, but I ended up applying for lots and lots of just merit-based scholarships because I knew that college would be something that would be hard to afford for our family if we were paying full sticker price, and we don't qualify for some of the need-based scholarships that are out there. So as far as my perspective, that was what I was looking at, merit-based money at schools, and lots of schools have it, UNC, Vanderbilt, Michigan, Miami.
and also, you all would all qualify for any minority scholarship at all these colleges because you're from an Appalachian county. And that's something that I know a lot of, my best friend is from Bath County, and that is something that she found out. And she got the Singletary scholarship, but before that, she got the minority scholarship at UK, before she found out, she was gonna get the Singletary. And it was because she was from an Appalachian region, so that's another thing. I'm not sure if you all knew that, but that's a thing.
So obviously the main issue here is publicizing, right? Lack of information disseminating through the student body.
So, at Lafayette, there are 4 counselors for serving roughly 2,000 students, which is the same ratio of counselors to students that you guys have here. But all of the information that we've just talked about has been told to us by our counselors. So, because we've been talking about this lack of publicizing of this information, lack of awareness, would you say that this is because of a lack of quality of administrators and counselors that you guys are giving here?
I think it's just not really that they're bad quality, but that they're focused on other things.
You said that they're more focused on getting you guys out of high school,
Yeah.
graduating high school,
Or
than
maybe
even
focus on
posting
either
grade.
not failing or dropping out.
I was gonna say that they're focused on just raising test scores.
True.
Because like basically my entire high school career so far has been, class, we need to raise test scores.
Test, please.
So do you feel like your administration doesn't really give a thought to secondary education more than it does like just the high school curriculum in general, or like how much of an emphasis do you feel like, or that they want to put on you guys for secondary education?
Very little.
They're like college and career ready, but what that really means is like what? Like you might go work at Wendy's.
Yeah, they make morning announcements here every day, and he always ends it by saying, like, we're striving to be college and career ready. And that does say, like, we want you to be ready to go to these secondary schools or to go, like, straight into a workforce. But they do that in order by, they tell you that you're career ready based on your test scores. Like, everything here is very, well, if you can get your test scores up, we can do this. Like, there's not really, oh, let's look at all these other things. It's more, let's get test scores up.
So do you think if there was less of an emphasis on test scores, there could be more of an emphasis on other things like college and
Yeah.
Yeah.
different fields?
Isn't it like we're persistently low achieving school or something
Yeah.
in this area, which is, yeah.
Yeah, we're a persistently low achieving school, so that means that we had a state audit, and I think we had another one this year. I'm
Yeah,
not sure.
sure
Yeah.
But they came in to review our school just to see like what some of the problems like were, and you fall into that bracket based upon your test scores. So we've been trying to get out of that bracket, and I feel like that's caused a lot of the focus
When you
go
hear,
straight towards that.
when you hear someone from the Kentucky Department of Education or the auditor's office tell you that you're a persistently low achieving school, that you're students that are part of a persistently low achieving group, how does that make you feel? What do you think when you hear something like that?
I mean, I think we all kind of just acknowledge it because we look around in our classrooms and we're like, well, that's what's going on, obviously.
So it's not a
You can pretty much
misrepresentation?
look
No.
around the
Yeah.
classroom and tell who's gonna go to college, who's gonna
Yeah.
be doing this, who's gonna be doing this.
Based
I
on
mean,
what?
Like, you can just look around a classroom and tell basically by the way, like stereotype, the
Yeah.
way people look and the way people act, what they're gonna be doing.
So do you think the problem is a lack of motivation or a lack of ability or lack of resources?
Lack of motivation. Because there are a lot of people here who do have ability. Like you can look at students here and they may be like failing most of their classes. But you put a broken car in front of them and they can tell you exactly what's wrong and then fix it any way you want them to. Like they have the ability, it's just, people here are stereotyped as not doing as well. So they believe that they can't. This is,
Yeah.
so,
It's a very interesting point because it brings up vocational studies and, a whole different aspect of high school schooling and college and career readiness. College and career readiness is a KDE state mandate. Every school in Kentucky is now trying to make their students college and career ready. So I've heard what you guys have to say about what that means to you. It seems like it's a lot of hot air just being blown at you guys from your perspective. But what kind of resources does Knox County provide to you guys to become college and career ready? Are there any vocational training, infrastructure in place?
We have trades.
We have a trade school.
It's trades, I don't know, all I've heard about it is they
Yeah, they have
like
nursing classes and they have
Welding and.
welding, they have a automotive class, and then we have an agriculture class out back. And
Are those taken advantage of?
No, not at all. They're
It's kind of looked down upon, actually.
they're taken advantage of as something that you can use to goof off, and they're the classes that you do nothing in. That you
Yeah.
just sit there and sleep.
Yeah,
do their
certain
thing.
students, like, if that's what they're interested in, they do take advantage of that opportunity. But a lot of the students just use it to just get out of here because they get to ride the bus over there and it's on a different campus, so they just kind of do whatever they want.
So as a whole, it seems that college and career readiness is more focused on trying to raise your test scores rather than prepare you for post-secondary education or your career.
So, running out of time for this particular section, I do want to say a little bit though, just talk about why we are here. I guess reading from our mission, for this particular project, we want to conduct roundtables with groups tour the area and hope to gain new insight into the broader issues of post-secondary transitions and raise new questions about what's working and what's missing in current education policy discussion. And what that means for us is that over the next few months, we're going to be looking at exactly the same questions that we've asked you guys here today about college affordability, accessibility, knowledgeability. We'll have to work on that. And then disseminating information, products on exactly what the situation is in Knox County and in other Appalachian counties. What's working, what you guys have told us is working, what you guys have told us isn't working, and then what are the steps moving forward to solve it. So I guess that is all to say. We're really excited about the information you shared with us today. We hope that you can share more information with us whenever you come to think about it. Rachel, do you think there's anything else?
I would just add, we really appreciate you sharing so much with us. This is the beginning of a deep investigation we're doing as part of the Student Voice team into the issues, as Andrew said, of post-secondary transitions and college affordability. And what we want to do over the course of the summer and early fall is we want to be going deep into research and supporting students as partners in finding solutions to some of these intractable issues in education. We think students should be policy partners in improving Kentucky schools, and you guys are a huge part of that by sharing what you did today, and dispelling a lot of stereotypes, but also raising some really, really good questions that we want to take directly to experts and policymakers. At the end of the summer, by early fall, we want to be producing a series of commentaries and op-eds looking into these issues in different angles, and also a policy paper of findings and recommendations for people who really can make decisions about changes we should be making. I mean, there's so many you came up with just in the course of this conversation, off the cuff, having to do with counseling services, things that you understand or don't understand about the post-secondary transition process, things your peers might need to know. It's so helpful. So I hope this is...
Throw something in right there, right at that point. I want to let you know that my kids, I have 2 kids in Fayette County schools also, but anything that you have said almost I could have heard out of either of my 2 students, so I just need for you to know that everything that you're talking about is not exclusive to Knox County schools, nor across the state, which is why we're going to be talking to other groups as well. So just so you know, that those kinds of things are completely across the state and also in Lexington. Go ahead, excuse me.
That's a good point. And we're going to be going to students across the state, having more conversations. But what Andrew said also